another punk rap, etc. As you know, we've been switching it up lately, in terms of content and what I've been doing, and at a time like this, hi for anyone, who's new, which, why would you be, but, for anyone who doesn't know, my name is MJ. I do a podcast called Punk Rap Etc. here, where normally, in not quarantine, I would be doing, what the heck is it called? I would normally be doing, like, live music performances, not me, but bands, and interviewing them. I would be doing album reviews, and I would be doing sketchbook sessions. And I've been continuing to do sketchbook sessions because I can in my own home. But in the current state of the world, it feels very weird to, and kind of tone deaf, to, like, reflect upon good times in my life while the world is really in, like, some utter turmoil right now. COVID, as well as the Black Lives Matter protests, and which it should be. I think that, you know, we should be standing up and doing, you know, what we need to do in regards to both of those issues. However, I think that for me personally, right now, you know, I didn't realize you could see my phone. For me personally right now, it just does not feel appropriate to be doing my normal content, as well as, like, obviously quality changes, which I've mentioned to you guys before. But, you know, I have a couple of things that I need to be doing during, like, this time, and I have a couple of, like, commissions and stuff. So what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be drawing my friend Kelsey. At the beginning of COVID, I offered up to some friends that if they wanted to get their portrait done by me, just for a little bit of distraction during COVID, like, you know, I will draw you. And I made that promise. I did a couple of them, and then I honestly got exhausted and did not have the time to do it at the time. So, you know what? Today we are going to be drawing my lovely friend Kelsey. And because she commissioned me to do so, I told everyone that this would be, you know, 100% free. I just want you guys to, you know, be able to get a drawing of yourself. And she was like, I want to support you. And I was like, oh my god, you're too sweet. So, basically, this is going to be me doing a pen portrait. So one of the other ones I did was this one. This was from one of my best friends, Patty, and this is an ink drawing. And then this is for her best friend, who is now one of my close friends, Taylor. Both of them gorgeous. I love doing ink drawings, and I never do them. Like, I draw all the time in my sketchbook, but I never, like, thought of that as, like, a practical way to draw, just because it never felt, like, finished, I guess. This was a self-portrait a year ago. Are you kidding me? That's crazy. You know, but I do stuff like this, and stuff like this. I love drawing, women, and, like, faces, nothing else, just faces. These are two of my favorites. I think these are two of my favorite things I've literally ever drawn. So, you know, any excuse to keep drawing. This is a good one, upside down, but same thing with this one. And so today we're just going to be doing that and having a chat. So, this is kind of like a quicker sketch. I used to draw a lot more when I was on the train, doing, you know, commuting, because I would be, like, I would have a lot of time to draw on my commutes. And, you know, now I don't do that because I wake up right before work starts. And normally it would take me about 2 hours to commute every day. 2 hours there and then 2 hours back because of subways and LARR. I work in the city. I live on Long Island. You know the drill. So, you know, it's been a lack of, I haven't read as much. And you'd think, oh, I would be less busy because of COVID, right? You would be mistaken. I am still the same amount of busy because the thing is, I work remotely for like 3 of my jobs, including this one. So it's, you know, it's, I'm still just as busy as I was before, if not more, but now with more time to like ponder it, you know? So I'm gonna do this illustration. I can't figure out if I want to do this picture or this picture. Probably this one. I think I like her face, the red lipstick. Not that I'm gonna color it, but well, maybe I can. I like these glasses though. Are they the same glasses? I don't think so. I like the composition of this one better. So we're gonna start off I always start off my drawings with, not always, but most of the time, like, even when I draw digitally, I always draw in my sketchbook first. So I did this portrait of Marsha P. Johnson, a trans activist, yesterday for my work, and I normally will start off with a pencil sketch. And for these, I start off with pencil sketches too. If I'm going to draw like on myself, I normally will just draw I always will draw just on myself, because you can't draw with pencil on yourself first. So we're going to start off with her head, and this, I'm just going to honestly like teach a little bit of art here, okay? So how we're starting off is that like this is a very stylized version of something. This is no person, this is just out of my head. Whereas these two drawings, well, three actually, this one and this one and this one, were all based on real people. And I do think the stylized is nice, but I'm not the best at likenesses when it's hyper stylized. And what that means for non-artists is like making something look like somebody when it's in a stylized form. I think this is more stylized than what Taylor looks like, but I still think it looks like Taylor, and this is more realistic of Patty. So I'm gonna go kind of for the same mood for Kelsey's, because I do want to keep it kind of realistic, but also like pen drawing-y. So what we're starting off with is like, you have your skull, and then you have your chin protruding off of that. So, can you see? Yeah, okay. So, this is the round of her head, and then, she's got a chin. So normally I'll create the face shape first, because that gives you a basis for where you're going to start drawing afterwards, because everything is proportional to itself. If you did not know that, everything is. She's got good cheekbones, really good cheekbones, actually. But everything is in proportion to each other on the face. What does that mean, MJ? Well, it means that everything on the face is split up into portions. So when you have a face and a head specifically, your eyes are halfway down your head, and then in between your eyes and your chin, your nose is another halfway down, and then from there your lips are another halfway down. This is general. It's not everyone, but I will say that that's true most of the time. So you do have to calculate, if you wanted to start drawing, right? You could, draw it out physically on the actual picture you're referencing, and people do that. That's what we used to do, in like middle school and elementary school and stuff. And then as you get older, or better, I won't say older, I'll say better at, finding out, at conceptualizing this, you do kind of, you can do it off the bat. So right now, like, Kelsey has a pretty even face. Her nose protrudes a little bit further down into the half than, I'm not going to say is normal. I'm just going to say, like, is, like, not standard. I don't know. It's just, like, the proportions, I guess. So we're going to draw. It always looks fucking creepy when I start off, because I'm just going to draw circles. I think that shapes really help you in placing where you're going to put everything. So, like, okay, so we have a head, right? And I think this is a good head shape for her. And then she has a neck that comes down here. And this is going to be like her shirt. And you can always do this afterwards as well, no big deal, but I just want to place them now. And her hair is going to come over here. I'm going to make her hair a little bit more. So we'll put the hair in front of her face later, but this is just like a general sense for me so that I know where I'm going to put everything. Basically, we have two eyes set in here, which looks, again, creepy as fuck. And then we're going to put, because her glasses take up the majority of her face, she also shot this from an upward angle, as opposed to like a straight on. This is a straight on, like, headshot, whereas, like, do I have any examples? This is pretty straight on. This is also pretty straight on. I don't know that I have any examples of something that was taken from above. No, I draw pretty straight on, but when you take photos of yourself, with your arm angled more above you, it's going to shorten your face, which adds to like that kind of like cute factor, which I understand why people do. I do the same thing, gets rid of double chins and shit like that. So we're going to put a ball for her, the tip of her nose, a ball for her nostril, and another ball back here for her other nostril. And then from there, we are going to put in her lips, and she does not have a very prominent top lip. So normally what I will do is I will draw, again, little circles. I know how much chin she's got to have. We can move the lip down a little bit. And your lips end. You can find out where your lips end if you just like draw on the picture. So right now, because of the angle, normally the end of your lips is congruent with if you draw straight lines up from your pupils, Jesus. I think that's correct. Yeah. So if you draw a line from your, if this is a straightforward portrait, your pupils should go straight down to where the end of your lips are. But again, this was taken from above, and so that's not going to be correct. But if you look at the actual picture itself, you can see that at the end of her eye is where her mouth ends. So I'm just going to draw a little dot there, and also know that the eye should end there as well. And then for this end of her mouth, it stems up to like the middle of her nose, so about here. Because again, this is not a head-on portrait. It's a little above, as well as it's a little bit three-quarter view. It's kind of turning. If it was straight on, you'd see her nose like, examples, MJ, examples. Like this, straight on, you would not see a, like, you know, a ridge at all, which is like what your profile looks like. Say for instance, this is more three-quarter view, probably about the same angle as Kelsey's actually, because you can see that much of the nose. So we are going to know that that ends there, and then the eye comes a little bit further, or like here. So now that we've got this creepy looking start, and normally between your two eyes, you can fit another full eye in between. Again, this is, you know, proportions change based on how you turn the face. However, you know, this is a pretty straightforward standard rule. So we're going to start. I am actually going to place her glasses on now, because I want to make sure that they're not going to look freaky later if I do it. So she's got really nice shaped glasses. I love these. I think that they look really good on her. Glasses are always hard because, or glasses are great. They're a double-edged sword, because if you want to hide something, like you didn't do something right, you can really do that with using glasses on a face. But if you get them wrong, they look really fucked up. So here is her glasses, and this is telling me that I probably should have made her head a little bit wider, because these glasses also should be maybe a little bit wider than they are, but that is okay. Again, we're not doing like full realism. I think as long as it looks like her, then we are good to go. So that's, I think, kind of what her glasses look like. And then this part goes back into her hair. We don't see the rest of this, so that's just like a basis, right? Okay, so from here, we are going to, I kind of start off wherever feels right, and I will normally start off with the feature that I know I might fuck up first, because then if that one looks wrong, then the rest of it's going to look wrong. So I normally will zoom in on a portrait, and I will zoom and kind of just see how, because I had these little circles, it was easier to follow, and, you know, find where her end of her nose should be. That's what's helpful about like pre-drawing. So she has like a little nose that kind of dips down a little bit in the front, and then this little nostril is not fully able to be seen because it's behind the slope of her nose. That's the word I'm looking for. So I think that's pretty good in terms of her nose, and obviously when this is all inked, I will go back and erase most of the pencil line. So that's, I'm satisfied with the way that her nose looks now. And then I think I'm going to go for the lips. She does have a very tiny chin because of the upward angle. This would be shadowed. This is where your frenulum is. I think that's the word. So, again, everything depends on each other. So if you draw something and it's not the right proportion, the other things that you draw might also then be out of proportion. So it's a real gamble, depending on which thing you draw first. I would say if you're just starting off, go from top to bottom. Go from the eyes and work your way down. I think that's the best way to do it. Like, for instance, right here, I feel like she has a very, very small bottom lip. I'm sorry, top lip, and like girl same, so God bless you. But it's very slight, and I think that looks pretty decent for her mouth, but I would like her to be smiling a little bit more. I used to get made fun of, like, relentlessly for having such small lips. But we're going to give her just a touch more of lip on the top. So I think, yeah, even in general, I think the way that she takes photos kind of leads it to not have so much of a prominent top lip. But again, same. I'm like, where's my self-drawing? My lips are tiny, bro. This looks so fucking creepy right now. But I'm going to make the chin just a little bit smaller because I think hers is. And we can always go back and fix things later. Like, don't get that wrong. So that's good. And then what I'm going to do is now I'm going to outline where I want the glasses. The glasses sit kind of above. She really has very prominent cheekbones. Could I finish a sentence? No. She has very prominent cheekbones, which I've drawn in here and will, shade in when it comes time. But the glasses, if you notice, sit right at the middle of her nose, which is where I've sat them here. So I'm going to make an outline now of her glasses, and the end of her glasses here are tangent with the end of her face, which means that they both land at the same place. Normally in drawings, you try your best to prevent tangents, because they look unnatural, but when they happen naturally, most of the time I will try to correct it. In this case, I kind of just like the way that looks, so I'm going to keep it. So that's a little bit more concrete, and we're going to draw, because they're decently thick, they're not just like wire, and they block just a little bit of her eye on this eye, and the other one. So I want to have that in before I start drawing so that I'm aware of the fact that it does, block it. So, what we started with originally was a very light pencil sketch, and now we're going into the more darker. This was just an accident. You don't have to color it in. I didn't even give her eyebrows. Jeez. All right. And then her eyebrows are up here. I'll do those in a hot second. I was like, what's missing? Eyebrows. So her glasses go, from what I understand, kind of a little bit further out. And this side is going to be bigger because it's closer to us. From what I can see, her glasses actually like kind of sit on her face. Like this, I think, is touching her face. Like, I know mine don't, but I know that like when I have sunglasses, they do, and her glasses are fairly large. So, and you won't see this because there's going to be hair in front of it, but I think it kind of makes sense for right now to show it, because then I can go back and erase it later. Like sometimes when I'm drawing portraits, actually you'll see it now, I'm going to draw the whole, it's easier to conceptualize drawing a whole circle in your in your iris as opposed to like going like this, because then it might not be like circular. You cannot see that literally at all. If you draw a whole circle in an eye, it's easier then to have that be the correct shape. Whereas if you just go like this, it's harder for it to become the correct shape that you want it to become. So whenever I'm talking about this kind of stuff online, like art, I always forget that not everyone has the background that I have. Like, we all went to elementary school. Maybe not all of us, but they do teach you stuff. Nah, that was close. They do teach you stuff, in school about art. But, not nearly as much as you then discover by yourself. I think that there are things that we should be taught in art that we're not. Proportions are a huge thing. I wasn't taught that until much later in my art game, and I wish that I had been. I'm here now, but I also went to art school. So her end of her eye lands with the end of her mouth. So that's what we're aiming for right now. She's got very large, kind of like doe-ish eyes. And again, proportions. You can see the bottom of her lid leads to about here, but we're going to make it a little bit bigger because I want to. And it's, again, like a kind of like a stylized drawing as opposed to like something super realistic. So you can see most of her iris here, but I'm still going to draw a circle, and then I'm going to darken that a little bit, because you can see most of her iris, but that's going to tend to look a little freaky if I draw it like that. Not in the picture, obviously, because she looks great, but it will if I draw it like that. And she's got fairly large pupils, which again, I don't normally draw pupils because you don't really need to. But, you know, most of the time I won't draw like a full pupil. I'll draw like the underneath of it, and that does the job enough. But you'll see what I mean in a little bit. So now that we've drawn that, I'm going to draw her other eye, which is, again, partially covered by her glasses. And glasses do this funky thing where they morph the stuff underneath. So her end of her head, it really would be here, but because the glass is in the way, it tells me that, you know, it's not. Her face isn't ending. It, like, duplicates some of this face. So her other eye would be here. And her pupil would be here. Again, look at how much better that one looks as opposed to like the creepiness of like a full pupil in this one. I don't know what it is about the full pupil. This girl in my class told me that when I was a kid, and I have never believed anything else since. It's true. It really, you don't need the pupil. I always thought you did, you really don't. My drawings always tend to look very creepy until I start to actually add shading or color, if that's the case. Like even like I drew this the other day. Drew this. I think that looks creepy. But the final product is beautiful. Look at that. Beautiful. However, drawing, creepy. If you look at them next to each other, look at the difference. It's obviously still the same sketch, but there's something about adding the, you know, details that really just send it home. So now that we've done that, let's draw her other eyebrow. One of her eyebrows kind of lies higher on her head. Girl, same. And every time that I'm explaining this, I think to myself, oh, sounds like I'm such a bitch. I'm not. I'm just telling you what the actual case is. Because people's faces are, you know, people's faces are uneven. People's faces are beautiful. I think that there's beauty in everyone. And that, you know, I love like the little intricacies of people's faces, and you know, particularly what their face looks like. I think it's so interesting that it's so interesting to draw people, because then you get to learn like the intricacies of their specific face. Like I would never have looked at Kelsey this long had it not been for me drawing her. She's got a decent sized forehead. And by decent, I mean she's got some forehead. So, again, this looks super creepy now. It's not going to. I want to give her a little bit more cheek and a little less chin, because I think that I'm not giving her enough credit in the cheek area. I think her face was just a little bit too large for what I was anticipating it should be, or how large I drew the features. I think her eyes are just a little bit too close, but I like the way that they look though, so I'm not gonna do anything about it. I'm gonna extend a little bit of her face off of this side a little bit more, because I think her face is a little bit more full than I've already previously put. Her head gets cut off, so I don't really know what the top of her head looks like, because every picture I've looked at of her doesn't really show the top of her head, so we're just going to assume. Most people's tops of their heads don't look specifically different to them, so I think we should be Gucci. But her hair comes down over her glasses here and down here, so that's good. I don't know where her part is, again, so we're just gonna kind of riff. I should have probably put this a little higher up on the thing so that you couldn't see that part, but that's okay. So now that we do that, I've done different portraits where I've used microns like this one, and I've done ones with just the regular pen that I have, which is my favorite pen, and I think I'm going to stick to that this time around because I want to. So here we go. So now that we've drawn this, now we have the inking portion, and hold on because I'm going to turn on a fan because I'm absolutely dying. It's really hot out today. Oh my god. It is normally not this disgusting out. It's not disgusting. I love it. I actually love warmer weather. Very much so. But I think it kind of shocked me because I wasn't really ready for it. I'm going to go ahead and draw her glasses first because I want to. Normally, also, I will take a piece of paper. So I got these pens made for me when I was like, I don't know. How old? I was pretty young. Thank you to somebody who said so awesome. I don't know how long ago that was because I'm doing this on my iPad. I should just pull it up on here. But, This is me. Alright, 12 minutes ago. Thank you, Allison. Never understood how you could see, sometimes people will comment and be like, oh, hey, you know, like, whatever, they'll be like, so-and-so's here, and I'm like, how do you see that? Okay, so, I'm like a millennial, and sometimes I also don't. Am I a millennial? That's a great question. I am stuck at that awful in-between phase of am I a lesbian? Am I a millennial or am I a Gen Zer? I have no idea. I was born in 97. I can remember a time without, like, mass amounts of generalized technology. Like, my mother did not have, like, a phone when I was, like, born and stuff. But I also have lived most of my life with modern technology, whereas I know millennials have not. So I'm just in this generation that heard people coin the phrase generation fucked. And I agree. Because we're just from the people who were born from, like, 95 to, like, 2000 are in this, like, weird range of, like, I don't have, like, a house and kids, which is what millennials have, but I also am not, like, doing TikTok dances, which, like, Gen Zers are. Like, I didn't just get out of high school, and I feel like Gen Z is still... Shouldn't we be out? Shouldn't another generation be started by now, too, by the way? Because I don't know how long generations last. Let me check, because I'd love to know. How long is a generation? 30 years? Jesus Christ. Okay. Generations. Just give me... Okay. I want to know... The internet says that I am a... Well, which accounts are we going based on? 97 is the first year of Gen Zers. It's cutting it real close, let me tell you. Yeah, they say 96. They say 97 is the beginning of generation of Gen Z. I disagree, because I don't feel like I identify with them. It's weird to be at the top of a generation. Who else is at the top of a generation? I live with all four of these generations in my household. My mother is a baby boomer, my father is a Gen X, I'm a millennial, and my brother is a Gen Z. I just literally missed the cutoff for millennial by 4 months, so I don't even identify with that. It is interesting, but shouldn't we be on a new one? This ends in 2014. What the fuck is after that? What is after Generation Z? Gen Z. Generation Alpha? Okay. Funky. Never heard of it, but I didn't think it was 30 years. I thought it was like 15. which I'm still thinking based on these internet stats that I've just collected. So interesting. Now that I've gone off about my rant about the generations, it is interesting to be in a time, though. I was in a, right now what I'm doing is I'm just outlining things that need to be outlined, so doesn't require much explanation. I am in a weird place where I just explained it, but, like, I don't identify with Generation Z, but I also don't really identify with being a millennial. It is weird to be at the turn of both of them. And what's so funny is people will still use, like, the term millennial as, like, you know, young kids. And the millennials are, like, 30 plus now. 30 to are they turning 40 yet? When do millennials start? Millennials started in 1981. I literally can't even do that math in my head. They would be like 39 right now, I think. Yeah, so millennials are turning 40 in a couple of years, in the year, which is nuts. So I don't identify with the 40-year-old millennials, but I do identify with the younger millennial demographic, of, like, people born just around my age. Like, I would not identify as a Gen Zer, just because of the difference in culture, generation-wise, I think. For instance, again, like, I identify more with the 40-year-olds, the 30-year-olds, more than I identify with the, what would they be, 21-year-olds to, like, 5-year-olds? That's a big, shouldn't we just do this by decade? That's a huge jump. People, they're so different. That's such a different time in your life from each other. Generationally, like, that, even just, that's so much. I don't even know why we have, like, the qualification or, like, quantification of generations as opposed to just, like, ages. So what I have this piece of paper for is that I will wipe off the crap that accumulates at the end of the tip of the pen so that it doesn't deposit it onto my drawing. Thankfully, she's got a little bit of, like, kind of, like, grungy, smudgy makeup on, so it's not too big of a deal. But, I'd prefer to control that. It's weird to not really know. I saw this tweet that was like, people born between the years of 1995 and 2000 are not a generation. They are honorary members of the Black Eyed Peas. And I identify more with that than I do with generation. Just as a joke. This is my favorite part. I love drawing eyes. Draw eyes all the time. I used to draw eyes so much more in high school. Oh my god, they were all over everything I owned. The most important part of the eye is leaving a space clean for the highlight. This is what makes your eyes look real. So for the pupils, I'm gonna color them in just a little bit on the underside. I'm gonna leave the rest up to your imagination. Why? Because it looks freaky if you finish it off. So she's got blue eyes, but she's also got most of them under shade of her glasses. So we are going to shade in the tops of her eyeballs darker than the rest of it. My nose is so itchy. So highlights appear on the darkest part of your drawing, and you wouldn't think that that's correct, but that's why they stand out. So if you were to look, on nails or whatever, right? Or anything that has a highlight, like, normally they would appear on the darkest part. I don't know, you could look up the science, but that's what I tend to go with. So again, like that pupil doesn't look weird now that like the top is kind of filled in. And for eyes, I literally just take my pencil or pen and go like this in a circle because it fills it in really nicely. Did the same thing here, without you having to like try too hard. People really go in on it, but like that looks good enough to be quite frank. And she's got this shadow here from her glasses that I'm going to include because it's going to make it look more realistic. I'm going to blend with my ring finger because your ring finger does not have a lot of pressure to it, and it's also not going to get any other finger messy. But I control my ring finger with my thumb so that it holds in place. And I'm just going to go in and draw color in this. So what I do is, on places that are darker like this, I will use that color, because it doesn't need all of it, it just needs some of it. And I will use that to shade on other places of the drawing. Just a tip. Oh my god, I'm sorry. My nose is so itchy. Sometimes when I... It's kind of filled in. Oh my god. No, shush. I don't want to be hearing myself. Sometimes if I have a septum piercing, and if I put it up, like into my nose, I can feel it. I hate it. But I can't take it out, so I just have to do what I have to do, I guess. So we're gonna keep going. I'm gonna give her, she has like a little bit of smudge underneath her eye from her makeup as well. And she has like highlights on her glasses, but not on this side, so I'm not gonna do that. A little smudge underneath the eye of some makeup. And she's got, her waterline is, has black in it. So normally I would draw the waterline, like I would actually draw, like here, I would draw like this. But because she has black in her waterline, I don't need to. And over here is a lot more shaded as well, so I'm going to give that a little bit of a, shade. And a little line. The good thing about glasses too is that sometimes they allow you to have a little bit more control over the shading. When you have a big area like a cheek or a forehead, it does get difficult to not screw up the shading because you have so much open area and only have so much motion of your wrist. But glasses cut that cheek in half for you to be able to focus on, the eyes and stuff, which is great. So that, there we go. Add some shade to the nose. So done that side, and now we're gonna, well actually I didn't give her eyelashes, so we're gonna give her eyelashes. And I don't care who I'm drawing, I will literally always add eyelashes to them. Sorry to that man. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna add a little bit. Oh fuck. I'll normally do that with my fingers as well if I want to, but today doesn't feel like the day to have messy fingers. After I do my show every week, I always have shit on my fingers because that sounds awful. I always have paint or some kind of art materials on my fingers because I use my fingers in my drawings or paintings, and that's great. It also causes issues for later in the day. I'm going to shade in this side of her nose. So I'm going to move on to the other eyebrow. With eyebrows, you just want to draw little hairs, and you can kind of form your eyebrow with them. Genuinely, my nose is so itchy. I don't know how to get this to stop. This eyebrow, blend it out a little bit. She's got an arch here, but we don't get to see the end because her hair covers it. We do get to see a little bit of it, so we're gonna draw a little bit of it. And I'm gonna draw the nose. And we're going to shade in this little area because this is a little darker than the rest of it. I think she probably was in like a car with like a light in front of her while taking this. At least that's what it looks like. Normally I will take a break from drawing the other eye for just a little bit, because most of the time I get I get like anxious about doing it, because I'm like, oh no, what if I fuck this one up? But I did the other one so well, right? So I will normally take a break and come back to the eye, and I'll do the lips and stuff, and then I'll come back and I'll do it, which is probably bad, because I should probably just finish off what I started, and have them look even before progressing to the rest of the photo, but that's not how I roll, so I'm not going to do that. We're just going to fuck it up one drawing at a time. Now her nose, I really like her nose. Got a good little swoop to it. With nostrils, you want to be careful to never make them like too pigmented, because you could make someone look really freaky, and most people don't have like very large nostrils. Not to say that if you do have very large nostrils that you're a freak, but it definitely does throw off the perception of what that person looks like a lot. Specifically if you're just like trying to aim for it to look like somebody. If you want to go and make your, really large ass nostrils on people, like on characters and stuff, go for it. But if you're trying to make something look like somebody, you be very careful with the nostrils and how large you make them, because it's really going to determine what that person looks like. Like I just made that nostril a little bigger, and I think that serves it well, because I think that she has a little bit of shadow underneath that nostril, and I think that that is going to really help to bring this kind of together, to show off what she looks like. And the fun thing is, when I erase the pencil on this, I am going to be able to see that not all of this is actually as filled in as it is. There's a little bit of shadow underneath there. I kind of want to now increase the shadow underneath her eye. So when I erase the pencil, which I'm going to do after this is dry, I'm going to have to go back in and shade a little bit more. Because as much as I'm shading, as much as I'm pulling the pencil places, the pen places, I'm also pulling some of the pencil, the graphite. Should have made her head a little bit wider in hindsight, but that's okay. I literally just went against my own rules, but it's looking good as I go along. Whenever I draw, even if I draw digitally, I have to draw in my sketchbook first, like I mentioned before. I don't know what it is, but drawing on the iPad, I cannot conceptualize drawing a human being or anything without having drawn it with a pencil first. I don't know what it is, but it makes me very uncomfy, and I always accidentally mess something up if I don't. It just never looks right to me. I'm like, it doesn't look right, so I always end up having to revert to drawing with my pencil anyway. Like, I can show you, I feel really good about this sketch from yesterday. However, when I was trying to sketch it out on my iPad, I don't know if I have the original sketches. Let me put up. Like, I was starting to go somewhere, and it really just, like, was not going there. Like, that looks freaky in comparison to the drawing, the sketch that I just showed you before. Just something that doesn't translate with me. I don't know what it is. But then again, turned out really beautiful, so I don't know. Yeah, I just always have to draw, specifically if it's realistic, or if it's like a person. If I'm drawing something for animation, that kind of changes the game, because I have to draw it so many times over and over again that I'm not so consistently worried about like every single slide, a frame being perfectly perfect. And it would also be a fucking nightmare to have to draw everything on paper first and then import it and then redraw over it. Hell to the no. But that's like kind of specific, I think. Okay, so let me give her a little gleam in her eye. And her pupil. The gleam also, putting it in the right place, really helps you, because it shows people where that person is looking. which is incredibly important. So right now, I made the executive decision that even though this tends to be on her eye in the picture, the gleam tends to be a little bit more focused here, closer to the inside of her nose. I was like, you know what? It's going to look really weird if I do that, because it's going to make her look cross-eyed, and we don't want to do that, because she's not. If she was, then we would do that, but she's not. So, ain't nothing wrong with being cross-eyed, but there is something wrong with it when you are not cross-eyed and then you accidentally make your person look cross-eyed. So now we've got that in, and again, just kind of. So when you're drawing eyes, and like I said before, when you can just kind of flail your pencil around, I would highly suggest, if you're doing a brown eye, that you do it more intensely, so more of this. And if you're doing a blue eye or a green eye, to do less. So in order, blue eye, less drawing inside, green eye, middle amount, and brown eye, you could probably just black that out if you really wanted to. Like when I was doing Patty has blue eyes, I did the same thing. Taylor has black eyes, just black the whole thing out. Or brown eyes, I just black the whole thing out. That just tends to be what works visually. So she does have a little bit of shade up here. Oh my god, my nose is so itchy. Sometimes that just happens. I don't know why. So I closed her eyes a little bit more than the picture was showing, but the thing is, sometimes when you're working with a reference, it might be really a nice picture. Like, I think this is a really good picture of her, but when you draw it, it might not necessarily translate as well as you'd like it to, which is why you have to take your artistic liberties to draw it the way that you think it's going to look good. So again, like, I knew for a fact that highlight was not going to look good where it was, so I was like, let's move it, because it's not gonna fly. I'm excited to finally be drawing this. I will come back on Wednesday with actual punk rap, etc., but again, the state of the world just didn't feel like reminiscing at the time. So I'm glad that I got to do this, because I not have been putting it off, but I was way too busy to like sit down, and this is going to take me probably like 2 hours, which is not like a long time, but when you're doing other things, or when you're exhausted and depressed, that takes a lot of effort. So, but I really wanted to get this out to her, because she paid me, and also, I care about her, and I want her to get her drawing. I'm going to stop drawing the glasses from there, because I don't know where exactly I'm going to put the hair. A little bit of lashes. I think her eyes are just a little bit too close together, but that's okay. It is too late. As well as like here, while I'm just drawing, I can kind of talk about whatever the hell I want. And I feel kind of my own pressure to like talk about specifically the concert when I'm talking on Punk Rap, etc. normally. Of course, because it's, a concert review. But right now that just didn't feel like the thing that I wanted to be doing. I forgot how much I love drawing with pen. Her top lip is fairly dark and, again, not very prominent. So we are going to shade that in. For the lips, I literally just draw in circles for something small like this. The sides of her lips are going to be darker, and then the little part where her lips meet is going to be a little darker because of shadows. And then what I'm going to do is, for her bottom lip, I normally draw in little strokes upward from the bottom, normally a little bit darker, and then I draw little strokes downward to create a highlight in the middle, which she has in the middle of her lip. because it makes it look realistic. And solves the fact that, you know, I'm gonna have to put a highlight in, but I don't really want to like have to specifically avoid it. And then I'll take my little finger and I'll kind of put things together a little bit more. I have Lady Gaga stuck in my head. Specifically the song Ayo. Joanne, incredible album. Go stream Lady Gaga on Spotify. Take a clean finger, blend it together a little bit more. This one is my dirty finger, which I will use to, you know, blend things that need more color on it. And I will take a clean finger, aka normally my pinky, and smudge things a little bit more. This is darker because I want to show that she has lipstick on without having to color it. Here's this little line below her chin that I'm going to add in, and she has this little tiny dot, little tiny freckle, right below her chin as well, or I'm sorry, right below her mouth as well. And now I'm going to shade in, she does have these little corners of her mouth, and I'm going to shade in all the rest of her skin and stuff, so that's going to be good. I'm going to start by giving her the rest of her face, so putting in like the sides of her head, and I'm going to have to go back and do some shading as well, like up here and everything, but I do want the face to kind of dry a little bit, so that I can go back and, what is that called? Erase what I want to erase. And face shape really has such a huge part in determining how much it looks like somebody. And why I like drawing, not girls specifically, mostly girls, but not girls specifically, but people with long hair, is that hair covers up anything. You fuck up the face, you just draw more hair over it. No one's gonna call you out on it, don't worry. So it appears that her hair kind of comes from here, maybe a part about here. And we're just gonna let her hair go off the page, because it does in the picture. She's wearing a leather jacket, shoulders probably up here, and Patty's, give her a little something on her jacket, might do the same. And her hair kind of comes out to here. You can always add more hair, you can't take away, so keep that in mind. That's good, actually. I think that's probably what the top of her head looks like. This is like one strand of hair, and then she's got like the rest of her hair comes down here, so I'm going to draw just a little bit of the glasses, as if her hair was in front of it, which it is. As if it actually is, MJ. Boom. Okay. So neck comes here. This is all like dark back here, so I'm just gonna kind of preemptively darken that for fun. Oh my god, I'm sorry. My nose itches so bad. So that's that. And then she's got this necklace that comes down here. I'm just gonna draw the line. And I think it's just a diamond. With maybe like little things on it. Maybe it's a sun? Who knows? And then she has the bottom of her shirt. Well, okay, so this goes down here. Barely gonna have a shoulder over there. But she has a neck on her shirt. Kind of comes here. Normally I'll just freehand this part because truthfully it doesn't really help to sketch it out beforehand for me. So she's got that collar, and she's got these ripples down here in her shirt, and then down here is where the rest of her shirt starts, so I'm just going to color that whole thing black. mark that off for later to color black because I don't want to do it yet because I'm going to use it in the hair. Actually, I'm going to use it in the cheekbones. So I'm going to start coloring this black. Take some of that, use it to shade her cheekbones. Because she has beautiful ones. I'm going to tell her that when I text this to her. Go back in and add a little bit of color to the nose. Not color, shading. But I'm going to particularly go in and actually shade her cheekbones with a little bit of line because they are very prominent. I did not ever see this amount of cheekbone on Kelsey. God bless her. I have 0 cheekbone, so good for you, girl. And the little side of her face gets a little shading as well. And I'm going to let that sit so that I can go back and erase all of the graphite out and then go back in and shade that later. But for right now, I'm going to take the color that I'm drawing in right now and I'm going to use that black color to shade in her shirt because it's sheer over her skin, so it's darker than the rest of her skin because it's like a sheer mesh color. Not color, texture, material, I don't know. And add some of that in. I picked up this technique when I was a kid, and I started drawing because I was bored in class, because I already learned this shit like 7 times. How many times can you learn about the American Revolutionary War? I'll tell you what, 7,000, unfortunately. We should have moved on to other topics, but that's just me, because I knew what the American Revolutionary War was after the first time we taught it. But, you know, that's just me. So, I started drawing, and I got this really good pen from my karate studio, and my mother was like, hey, at our sensei's, where do you order these pens from? And they were like, oh, this place. And so we ended up ordering a bunch of them, 200 of them. Still have a drawer full, which you can't see. But this is the pen. And still have a bunch of them. They have my like old Instagram username on them. And, you know, marketing. But still have that Instagram live because I kept the name just because I was like, I don't want somebody else to steal this, but I don't want to be known as this anymore. So I made an alternate account where the username is just held. I'm also going to darken in this collar of hers. It's a good shirt. I think she was going out somewhere. I'm going to be clear to leave like a little bit. Okay, I guess we're doing that. Genuinely? Okay, I can like feel... I don't want to take my nose ring out, but I can feel it in my nose and I hate it. I've had this thing for 3 years. Have I? I've had my nose piercing since January 2016. So that's 4 years, like my side nostril. And then I've had my septum for 3 years. Because I got that in February of 2017. I was so scared to get my septum pierced. 1, parents. 2, general fear. Just because I was like, what if I don't like it? Or what if it hurts? It really was not a hard piercing to get. I would suggest to anyone who wants piercing to get a septum piercing. Why? Because, guess what? The thing is, if you don't want it after a point in time, you can just take it out. And it doesn't matter, because the thing is, no one's going to see that you have a scar, because it's inside your nose. If I ever have a child and they're like, I want a piercing, I'm going to be like, great, go get your septum pierced. Because if you don't like it, I think septums look great on everyone, as well as the fact that if you don't like it, on a day-to-day basis, you can just hide it up into your nose. And if you don't want to wear it eventually, you can just take it out. And there's no scar on the side of your nose or whatever. Can't believe I'm 23 and I have 2 nose piercings. Wow, look at me go. But anyway, had them for, 4 years now. Neither of them give me problems anymore. They both did originally. My side nostril piercing gave me an issue for probably about a year. Yeah, I had like keloids on it pretty consistently, which is scarring, hypertrophic scarring for context. And I had some, it just like kept hurting and getting hypertrophic scarring on it. And I was like, this sucks. And it did. So, that was great. And then my septum was perfectly fine for about 6 months. It was healed really easily. It really did not hurt. You can easily flip it up to hide it from jobs if you want to, which I didn't have to, fortunately enough, because I literally went to an art school, so it didn't matter. And it was fun and great and amazing and wonderful. And then it became summertime. Maybe that's why I'm having an issue again. It became summertime, and all of a sudden my septum was like, I do not want to be in your face anymore. And I was like, but why? It's cute. So, and I also was like back and forth on whether or not I thought it looked good on me. And so I took it out for a long time. And then I just shoved it back in when I was like ready to have it again, which don't do. Go get it re-pierced. But I don't think that your septum is cartilage. I know that your nose is, because it's on the side of your nose. But your septum goes through like a sweet spot on your nose. It's like if you touch your nose on your septum, which is the part that separates your 2 nostrils from each other, if you touch it and pull it out, you can feel that like skin that's not hard cartilage in between, and that's your sweet spot, and that's where people should be piercing your septum. If you get it done wrong, believe me. So, you can do I got it pierced and it was great and amazing, and then all of a sudden it was just like, I don't want to be here anymore. And I was like, I mean, me neither, but you have to be, because I don't want to take it out. And then I was like, you know what, I was at Pride in like 2017, and I was like, this is absolutely bothering the ever-loving shit out of me. If I don't get this out of my nose right now, I think I will actually lose my mind. So I took it out, literally during the middle of Pride. It was not a good time. Pride was, but not having to like take out your septum piercing in the middle of a parade. And then actually I ended up having to get my wisdom teeth taken out a couple weeks later. Couple days later, actually. So, all's well that ends well. But that was a interesting time. Maybe that was part of the reason. I have literally no idea. Probably never will. But I have had it since. I've taken it out and put it back in a couple times, because truthfully my septum doesn't really close up all that quickly, whereas my nose piercing, because it is in cartilage,